In the heart of Brazil, where the sun seems to shine a little warmer and football is more than just a sport, a boy once juggled a battered sock stuffed with paper and rags as though it were made of gold. He had no shoes, no proper ball, and no grand stadium cheering him on. Only the dusty streets of Três Corações, a mischievous smile, and an unshakable dream. No one could have guessed then that this barefoot child would grow to become the most celebrated footballer in history, a man whose name would echo across continents and generations, whose very presence on the pitch would inspire awe, and whose story would intertwine with the evolution of the beautiful game itself. This was Pelé, a man whose journey from poverty to global stardom would not just change his life, but alter the history of sport forever. Edson Arantes do Nascimento came into the world on October 23, 1940, in a small and humble neighborhood in Três Corações, Minas Gerais. His father, João Ramos do Nascimento, known to most simply as Dondinho, was a tall, elegant footballer whose career had been cut short by injury, but whose love for the game never faded. His mother, Celeste Arantes, was the heart of the family, a deeply nurturing woman who shielded her children from the harshness of poverty with equal measures of discipline and affection. Life was modest, at times painfully so, and young Edson's earliest years were colored by scarcity. There were days when meals were stretched thin, when new clothes were a luxury, and when the idea of owning a real leather football was as far-fetched as owning a palace. Please like, share, and comment on the video with your valuable feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get notified of new videos. Tell us in the comments if you would like to see the biography of your favorite football player. It was in these conditions that his imagination and love for the game began to flourish. The streets were his playground, the neighbors his audience, and the ball, more often a makeshift creation from rolled-up socks and old rags, was his constant companion. He played until the soles of his feet were calloused and the sun dipped low beyond the rooftops. The games were chaotic and joyful, full of laughter, mock arguments, and improvised rules. For Pelé, football wasn't just a pastime, it was a lifeline, a dream that allowed him to forget the hunger, the patched shirts, and the tiny home where every square meter counted. The nickname Pelé was born from an innocent mispronunciation. As a child, he admired a local goalkeeper named Pelé, but in his youthful enthusiasm, he pronounced it Pelé. His friends pounced on the mistake, teasing him endlessly, and soon the name stuck. At first, Edson hated it. He even got into fights defending his given name. But as the years passed, he would come to realize that this playful teasing had gifted him an identity that would eventually be recognized in every fanatic corner of the globe. Dondinho played an irreplaceable role in shaping his son's footballing instincts. In the evenings, when the workday was over, father and son would head to the nearest open space with a ball, or something resembling one, and practice. Dondinho would show him how to trap the ball softly, how to pass with precision, how to strike cleanly with both feet. He even taught Edson how to head the ball, a skill he himself had once been famous for. But beyond technique, he taught him lessons about humility, discipline, and resilience. He reminded him that talent without hard work was meaningless, and that respect for the game and its opponents was as important as winning. When Pelé was about 10, the family moved to Bauru in the state of São Paulo. Here, the boys' world expanded. Bauru was a bigger city, with more organized youth football teams, and Pelé quickly made his mark. He played for several amateur sides, dazzling onlookers with his speed, control, and uncanny sense of where the ball would be. His reputation began to spread locally, and it wasn't long before he caught the attention of Waldemar de Brito, a former Brazilian international striker who had once played in Europe. De Brito saw something rare in the boy, an effortless natural talent paired with an unquenchable hunger to improve. He became Pelé's mentor, refining his technique, sharpening his decision-making, and preparing him for a leap into the professional world. By the time he was 15, Pelé's destiny was clear. De Brito took him to Santos Football Club, a club with ambitions to rival Brazil's biggest teams. At the Santos training ground, coaches watched this scrawny teenager dance with the ball, and their skepticism quickly turned to awe. He was signed almost immediately, and in September 1956, Pelé made his first team debut. He scored in that very game, a sign of the countless goals to come. From that moment, his rise was unstoppable. In his first full season with Santos, he became the league's top scorer. His speed and dribbling baffled defenders. His shots, whether blasted from distance or gently curled into the corner, were unstoppable. And his vision allowed him to create chances for teammates with the same brilliance that he finished them. Fans began to travel miles just to watch him play, and Santos, once a regional club, became a national powerhouse with Pelé as its shining star. His international breakthrough came in 1957 when, at just 16, he was called up to the Brazilian national team. He scored on his debut, becoming the youngest player ever to do so for Brazil. The following year, Brazil headed to the World Cup in Sweden with high hopes, but few could have predicted the impact this teenager would have. At the 1958 World Cup, Pelé missed the early matches due to injury, but when he finally took the field, he transformed Brazil's attack. In the quarterfinal against Wales, he scored the only goal, a delicate flick and finish that announced his arrival on the world stage. In the semifinal against France, he scored a stunning hat-trick, each goal a demonstration of composure beyond his years. And in the final against Sweden, he scored twice, the first a masterful chest control and volley, the second a simple header that sealed the victory. At 17, Pelé had led Brazil to their first ever World Cup triumph, and the boy from Três Corações became a global sensation. Over the next decade, Pelé's career reached heights few could imagine. With Santos, he won multiple national championships, Copa Libertadores titles in 1962 and 1963, and Intercontinental Cups against the champions of Europe. These matches became legendary, not just for the trophies won, but for the way Pelé played them. Against Benfica in Lisbon, he scored a hat-trick in the first half, silencing a stadium of Portuguese fans. Against AC Milan, he turned a losing position into a triumphant comeback. Wherever Santos went, Africa, Asia, North America, stadiums filled beyond capacity, and in some cities, the arrival of Pelé stopped traffic entirely. His second World Cup in 1962 was bittersweet. He scored in Brazil's opening game, but suffered a groin injury in the second match and missed the rest of the tournament. Brazil still went on to win, largely thanks to the brilliance of Garrincha, but Pelé watched from the sidelines, frustrated but proud. In 1966, at the World Cup in England, he was targeted by rough, often brutal defending. Injuries forced him out of the tournament early, and Brazil failed to advance past the group stage. Angry and disillusioned, Pelé briefly announced he would no longer play in World Cups. Yet the call of football was too strong to resist. By 1970, he had returned to the national team for one last attempt at glory. The World Cup in Mexico would be his masterpiece. Leading a team widely considered the greatest in history, featuring stars like Jairzinho, Tostão, Rivellino, and Captain Carlos Alberto, Pelé shone in every match. He scored 4 goals, including a towering header in the final against Italy, and set up many others. The final's 4th goal, a sweeping move finished by Carlos Alberto after a perfectly weighted pass from Pelé, became one of the most iconic in football history. Brazil lifted their 3rd World Cup, and Pelé became the only player to win the tournament 3 times. By the time he retired from international football in 1971, Pelé had scored 77 goals in 92 appearances for Brazil, a record that would stand for decades. He continued with Santos until 1974, amassing over 1,000 goals for club and country, though the exact tally remains debated due to the inclusion of friendly matches. In 1975, he accepted an offer from the New York Cosmos in the North American Soccer League, a move aimed at popularizing the sport in the United States. His arrival drew massive crowds, and matches became glamorous events attended by celebrities like Mick Jagger, Muhammad Ali, and Robert Redford. Pelé's charisma, combined with his artistry on the field, helped ignite a lasting passion for the game in a country where soccer had long been overshadowed by other sports. His farewell match came on October 1, 1977, in a friendly between the Cosmos and Santos. He played one half for each team, scoring his final goal for the Cosmos and leaving the field to thunderous applause. Tears streamed down his face as he embraced teammates and opponents alike, the end of a chapter that had captivated the world. Retirement did not dim his light. Pelé became a global ambassador for football, working with UNICEF promoting peace and championing youth sports. He served as Brazil's Minister of Sports from 1995 to 1998, pushed for anti-corruption measures in football, and continued to inspire through speeches, books, and documentaries. He received countless honors, from FIFA's Player of the Century Award to the Olympic Order, and remained a beloved figure across cultures and generations. Pelé's personal life was as colorful as his career. He married 3 times and had several children, some from relationships outside his marriages. Though his family life at times drew media scrutiny, those close to him spoke of his warmth, generosity, and unwavering love for his roots. He never forgot the streets of Bauru, where he first learned the game, often returning to support local projects and inspire young players. In his later years, health problems began to limit his public appearances, but his smile remained unchanged. Even as younger generations rose to stardom, players like Ronaldinho, Neymar, and Mbappé, Pelé's name continued to carry an unmatched aura. On December 29, 2022, Pelé passed away at the age of 82 after a long battle with cancer. The world mourned as if a member of every family had been lost. Tributes poured in from presidents, prime ministers, pop stars, and, most poignantly, from millions of fans who had never met him but felt they knew him. Murals appeared overnight, stadiums held moments of silence, and in Brazil, 3 days of national mourning were declared. Pelé had begun life as a barefoot boy with a ragged ball, and he ended it as the most celebrated footballer the world had ever seen. He embodied joy, sportsmanship, and the idea that no dream is too big for a determined heart. For every child kicking a ball in the street, for every fan who still whispers, "Oh Ray," with reverence, his legacy lives on. The legend of Pelé will never fade, not because of the trophies, the records, or the goals, but because of the joy he brought to billions and the hope he gave to anyone who ever dared to dream.